Welcome to another episode of Finding Love. Today we're going to be diving into something that can go across the board of any relationship. Setting boundaries and having access to you. Let's protect our peace. We'll be right back. So today's story time is from a kick it session, and we often do this with our friends, and we're just kind of talking about what's going on in life. Recently we were talking about boxing. Yep. Tank won, right? Knocking people out. One of our boys actually kind of predicted that round too.
He did.
You saw that?
He did.
But of course, we get to talking about relationships, and we also get to view relationships in our friend group a little differently, I think, because of the podcast. But we're sitting back, and we had another, I think I love a moment. Yeah. Gucci Mane style, right?
Yeah. Cue Gucci Mane.
Listen. And it got us thinking about just the amount of attention that people put into relationships in the beginning and not following through the marriage and the fulfillment of sustainability in relationships. And we just kind of, we got to get into it. Like this access and boundaries, where does it start? How do we put it together? And how is it affecting our relationships?
And that's exactly one of the issues, because it's usually setting the standard for the relationship in reverse. Mm-hmm. Now bear with me for this, okay? Because a lot of people don't understand this, so let me say that again. It is the problem that a lot of people have is setting the standard in relationships in reverse. Mm-hmm. We often, as soon as we meet somebody, we fantasize about this potential future with them. Mm-hmm. And we make these plans and we set these expectations on the other person in just the few moments of meeting them, right?
Yes.
And so once you do that, you have changed the trajectory of your entire life just based on a moment or a couple dates with somebody. And this is not a one-time scenario. Just our friend, it's been often with my friends. The guys, the guys, we sitting down watching the game say, man, I met somebody, I love her, I'm retiring the jersey, I'm throwing in the towel, I love her, it's over. And that happens so much, right? But guess what also happens? Setting the standard in reverse, what else do we also do? We give up front. Mm-hmm. And then once we get into that relationship, then we start to pull back.
And that really gets me thinking about checklists. Mm-hmm. You know, when you got someone who's checking all the boxes of this supposed checklist, which I've talked about, you built my checklist.
Yeah.
I was not checking off for you. I was like, oh, that's another thing I like. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's another thing on my box, you know? So when you're so involved with meeting this standard of this ideal mythological figure of a husband or a wife, they can meet those really early.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like income-based, education-based, career-based, how they look, what kind of car and house they drive and live in, When it's those type of expectations, somebody can meet all of those check boxes on day one. Yeah. And now what?
Yeah.
You're in love?
Yep, and you hit a good point, because often early on, there can be somebody who is very skilled at dating. The early on dating, right? Mm-hmm. They can have their go-to. They can say, okay, first I take her to breakfast, then we go to a coffee spot, and then I take her to the library, and they can just have this whole routine set up, right? Yes. And it's really the practice of executing the date rather than peeling back the layers and really getting to know somebody. So now they go back to their friends and they say, oh my goodness, I had the best time. I love him, or I love her. Now this is I found my person, right? And so we can have a great time. Everybody deserves a great date, okay? But we have to make sure that we're not getting lost in the sauce of that early on dating, and making sure that we are setting those access and boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're early on dating, just making sure that you're switching your entire schedule around to be with this person can be a little bit too much access for the beginning stages. I think that you making sure that you are showing them that they are a priority and getting to know them is something, but when you don't have your own stuff going on, right? Like, you're always available, you can kind of fall into a different box right there as well. So while you're trying to put forth the best effort, it could come off the wrong way. And that level of access is unnecessary in the getting to know you stages. And I think is how the pillow talking start, right? Now we pillow talking. Now I know all your friend business. You know all my friend business. We got everybody's business, but we don't like each other in 2 weeks. It doesn't work when we have our first conflict. But we done pillow talked our lives away because of the access. And that is a problem. That's a problem.
And let's break it down. It's a few things that we have to look at. And I think if you peel back the layers a little bit more and you look at what you hold dear, that is sometimes what people are a little too giving with or a little bit too loose with. Let's give an example, right? So I have a buddy of mine, and I remember this was last summer. You know, he just met this girl, they hit it off, and after the very first date, they both find out, of course, that they both have children. And they say, oh yes, I have a daughter. Oh, I have a daughter too. And instantly they start discussing having a play date, right? And so that's one of those scenarios where if you're a parent, you're a mom or dad, you have to have boundaries when it comes to your children because you don't even know what's going to transpire with this person. So yes, if you're having a great date, you deserve to set the next date. You deserve to see where this goes. But for you to automatically input your child and the other person's child on a play date, and now your two worlds collide, and like you said, in a week or two, you guys have your first argument, and now everything is over, and your daughter's asking to play with the other girl's daughter, and what do you have to do? You just sweep it under the rug, or you have to explain why we can't play with them anymore, and that's just one example of the boundaries that you have to set for your children or your heart.
I agree. I mean, it even got me thinking about all of the things that I see like negatively about Libras, right? Me being a Libra. They often say like we're fun and we go with the flow, but we're not going to commit, and, you know, we might not be with one person, right? I see that often. They'll be like, well, not a Christian God-fearing woman, but whatever. If you believe in zodiac signs, okay, whatever. But with the Libra person that I am, that one little thing about me, I can have fun with anybody, right? I can pretty much figure out what your interests are and be at least a little bit involved in them, right? And the intentionality of me wanting to say, wow, I want to be introduced to your world is where the boundaries are released. And it is where it's me saying, okay, I want more. Because I can often say, you know, how about we just do this? How about we just go get some drinks? Or how about we just, you know, whatever. And I think that it's important to know who you're dealing with. And it's important to know about how they have dealt with relationships in the past. And I believe that relationships start at the earliest of ages. Your relationship with your siblings. Your relationship and how dear you hold your family. You know, your first friend. And how long you've been friends with someone and your friend group and all of that. So it takes more than just knowing that person. If you get to know that person and you're not getting introduced to their worlds and their friends and their families, and you don't really understand how they are in relationship, they might not even have the muscle memory to learn how to build with you. To be with you, period.
No, but you said build with you, and that is what it is, because if you can allow, I mean, let's say the saying, easy come, easy go, right? Things that are worth it, you have to build it, right? You have to endure, you have to experience, you have to grow Okay. And so, like you said, with those early on relationships, that's your first test of having a relationship. But to protect your peace, to protect your heart, and protect your close ones or children around you, you have to be able to set those access points and those boundaries, because if you truly are growing and building that foundation, now we can find out those key things. We can find out the character. We can find out the compatibility, right? We can find out all of these things versus just being in love with the thought of love or fantasizing about a date. Instead of that, we're looking at the other person and seeing if this can work. You know, a 5-star dining restaurant or a vacation out to Vegas cannot blur the lines of understanding what we are doing here and if this can work and move forward.
And it's crazy that you said that, because it got me thinking about, I don't want anybody to misconstrue that we're setting a time limit on these boundaries. It's not really a time limit, but there are some touch points. And I've seen people who are dating 6 to 9 months and nothing's happening. Nothing. I mean, they kind of dating, they kind of see each other, they kind of talk on the regular, maybe they send some memes with each other, you know, nothing's happening. And I've seen people 6 to 9 months be planning out their weddings, planning out how many kids they're gonna have. And so it takes a few different things. And I think one has to be a conflict. You have to see how each other deals with conflict. I mean, conflicts are gonna happen. You shouldn't be just arguing with somebody off top. Like, okay, that's not what I mean by conflict, but I mean having a disagreement where we have to talk about our values and our value proposition and how we really feel about this long term. That's number one. Number two, you need to see how this person not even more than supports you, but compliments you. You know, so you need to see if you want in life to have 10 children, will this person be a good father to your 10 children? If you want out of life to grow an enterprise, can this person offer something to your business structure? You know what I'm saying? Like, can they compliment you? I know they say, you know, opposites attract and all that good stuff. And maybe this does work in this complementary world, but I'm not saying anybody who is, you know, I am a numbers person and I don't do social with a party animal. I don't know, you know, but the numbers person and the idealist person can flourish, right? And then I also think that it's really important for you to look at long-term character things like lifestyle, who this person is becoming, who they were 5 years ago, who they plan on being in 10 years, because you are going to be different at different seasons. You know, I told you not too long ago, had I had this big mama drama, some heads would have been knocked off their shoulders at 20. But at 30, I understand all dynamics. I understand how to keep my peace, but also love, you know, and love on even her. You know, so it's like, it's all of these things in every season of life that you really need to use in order to build out this character, you know, flow chart. Because you don't know who this person is going to be in 10, 20 years. But their character and the standard that they live by is something that is going to remain consistent. You know that before you open up those access points, before you release those boundaries and start to talk about things like marriage and children, you know, and children should not just be talked about just because you're getting to that age or because y'all having sex and it's like, we might have one. It should be talked about as a planned process.
That's right.
You know, and it should be an access point that is only released after hitting certain checkpoints.
That's right. And you said a few things that were good there too. And one of them was having your first conflict. And because there should be boundaries around that. Having that conflict will really also let you know how that other person can set their boundaries so they're not going out of bounds, right? So that respect is not out the window, right? Because if we can at least establish that, then we can move past it, because I'm also peeling back the layers of, okay, I know that this person, even when they not feeling me, they still respect me, right? Yeah. And then we can get through this, right? Yeah. And then the other thing was, you brought up Cam, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important too, because there was a boundary that was set with that. So the other piece that goes with that, although I set a boundary with that, you respected my boundary. Even though I'm spending time with you every day and we're exploring each other, right? Yeah. Mentally, and just learning ourselves. You know, I'm showing you where I grew up. You're doing the same. This boundary that I have over here, you don't have that access point yet for Cam, right? But while we're growing and building that foundation, you never pressed that boundary and you never pushed. And so it allowed for us to grow and build, so that naturally that boundary, like you said, came down, and now Cam comes in the picture. And so that's one example of that. But that happens with so much, especially if you have things that we care about, right? You want to share your deepest, darkest secrets. You want to share your house with somebody. You want to share your body with somebody, but you don't want to give them your social media passcode. You're not going to give them your ATM PIN code. We pick and choose what is so vital. But these things that we give so easily in the beginning of relationships, those are our currency, our emotional currency. There are our spiritual currency. So if you just gonna give them away because he took you to a 5-star restaurant or on one vacation, then what are we going to move towards? What are we going to build towards? Because at that point, you made a decision right there that you're going to give all of this away, and that a few moments later, after that first ounce of conflict, you guys don't deal with each other no more.
I think that what I was saying to myself in that moment when I was listening to you was, I give all of y'all my social media passcodes before I give you my vulnerabilities. Before I give you all of me, right? But too often, you guys want to start with the vulnerabilities. So you've given yourself completely to this person, and you're left with nothing. You didn't give them your overflow. You gave them the whole glass. Stop it. And it's a part of losing yourself in these relationships, which goes back to our last podcast with divorce. If I give you all of me, right? And I give you everything I have to give, and I devote everything to you. If something happens to us, I'm nothing. And in relationships, we do this in the beginning so often, rather than rewarding that marriage, the proper respect of, you held me down through labor, delivery. You held me down through financial ups and downs. You held me down through just a bad day and allowed me to be able to even say I had a bad day, something I didn't do, right? So you've done all of that. You should be rewarded for that constantly, versus me showing up in the beginning and trying to be everything I wanted you to want, right? I need to be that now. And so that goes back to that reverse, but it also just introduces, like, this is how you lose yourself in relationships.
And losing yourself in relationships can also cause you to lose your other relationships. We've also seen people be torn down by their toxic relationship, right?
Where's the wine?
A toxic relationship or a toxic moment where now you can't be the friend you were. You can't be the daughter you were. You can't be the mother.
That's so good.
Or father you were to your own child, because you got lost in the sauce with this other person, because you gave so much of yourself that you let down your guard just like that. And you gave all the access codes to your heart and your mind and your mental health. So now your child is suffering. Now your best friend is, he's not feeling, your best friend of 15 years, 20 years, right? And you met somebody for 15 days and now you thrown off, or even 15 months for that matter, right?
That just goes into something that I've said on previous podcasts, so go ahead and check those out. But I say this so often to my women, because I'm a woman and I talk to y'all all the time. don't get so guarded and being defensive or not allowing yourself to be vulnerable or not allowing somebody in that you block your blessings. Right. And I really want to hone in on the fact that setting boundaries is not blocking anything.
That's right.
Setting boundaries is giving bite-sized pieces of you at very specific times in life.
That's right. While the rest is being earned.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that boundaries can be set with any relationship. Again, if my mom calls me and she wants to dump on me, and I say, "Oh my, today not the right day." That's a boundary because I know that I am not mentally capable of taking on your stuff because I got a lot of stuff today. That doesn't mean I don't call her tomorrow and let her do it tomorrow, but it does mean in that moment I have set a boundary with somebody that I hold at the highest.
That's right.
My own mother. And you guys won't even do this with this girl or this guy you just met 2 seconds ago. And to be able to be soft, to let someone in to at least the surface level of you.
That's right.
To introduce them to some of your past moments. That is how you successfully get to know someone without giving them everything.
That's right.
And without shutting down so much that you do block your blessing.
And that's fantastic because your past moments are learned lessons and learned experiences, but those should not be confused with past traumas.
No.
And past toxic moments in relationships, right?
Yeah.
Because if you start inflicting practices on the new potential based on those past times, then guess what? That's not setting boundaries. That's really infecting the potential of your next person, right? Yeah. And so when we go back and we look at setting the boundaries, it should be from a place of maturity and understanding what we've learned in the past and being able to allow something that is valuable, a relationship, to grow and prosper.
And that just got me going too. It made me start to think about after you've seen toxicity in some other partner, right?
That's right.
The last person you were dating didn't answer a couple of your calls and you found out they had a whole nother family, right? This person doesn't answer your calls and you just jump to they got a whole nother family. Wait.
There you go.
Pump your brakes now. Now, I'm not saying toxic ain't toxic, but I am saying that this person didn't answer your call because they actually work.
That's right.
Or this person was, in a meeting or on a plane. They travel for work. You have to think about what is happening there.
That's right.
Or this person ain't been in a relationship in 10, 15 years himself or herself. They don't realize I got to pick up every call. I got to text you and let you know where I am. And I got to, check in.
But can I give you a flip side?
Yeah.
Now, what if that person is setting the boundary to make sure that he's dealing with somebody that's understanding and is providing grace to himself, and he sees because of her toxic background, she instantly goes to he up to some bull, or he dealing with another girl, or he dealing with a whole nother family, and he set a boundary in place to guard against that.
And my ladies, again, I got to talk to y'all. We often think that you're not supposed to train a man or a man's supposed to know how to do everything and all of this good stuff. And a man should know how to be a gentleman on his own. A man should know how to respect you on his own. A man should understand that he needs to get to know what your love language is on his own. However, he don't know you yet. He don't know you. If you don't tell him how often you want to be communicated with. If you don't let him know that I like to just be checked in with.
That's right.
Shoot me a text. Shoot me a voice memo while you in transit from one meeting to the next, and that's fine. You need to set those standards for yourself. And that is a part of making sure that your boundaries are protected.
That's right.
Because if you know that if that man don't answer that phone, you gonna go straight into red flag, toxic, can't talk to him no more, it's over. You need to let him know in advance that I need you to answer that phone. I need you to just shoot me a text. Just let me know what's up. That's something so easy.
That's right.
And so like it's a avoidable red flag.
Yeah.
An avoidable pitfall that some people fall into, and then, you know, once you get to this big age, you know, we ain't got time for the games.
Nah.
My girls be like, girl.
That's right.
The man was eating on the wrong side. Whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be something so silly. It'd be crazy. But and they're through when it's like, well, did you actually communicate what you wanted? Did you actually let him know how to love you and how you wanted to be loved on?
That's right.
And if you did it, how's he at fault?
That's right.
But, you know, I don't know. I'll just be talking.
No.
They done gave me a little podcast and I just be talking. But seriously, I think that a lot of, you know, releasing those access points and making sure that boundaries are in place, especially in the beginning, is the key to protecting your peace.
And you said it, setting the standard. But remember what we said in the beginning, so many people are setting the standard in reverse.
Oh.
And so when you're setting the standard, you're allowing that person to learn you,
Yes.
right? Instead of getting lost in the sauce of a date or in the moment of a vacation, sometimes things can become clouded. Yeah. But when you're really learning that person, then you're able to know if they have insecurities that you can deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because these things matter. Everybody has insecurities, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But if we're having genuine conversations and not really giving our entire access to our emotional currency, as I kind of said it, then we are learning the other person, and we're learning if we can be compatible and if we can deal with the past trauma, right, or the insecurities. And because the trade-off is worth it, because they're so amazing and we're so compatible, then we're allowing that time to grow and blossom. And so understanding that having those access points and setting those boundaries can really allow for a healthy understanding if we can roll. Because guess what? We can also understand if we can't roll.
Yes.
And it can be all good because we allowed a healthy place of boundaries. And so we were never too committed. We didn't set these false expectations and change our lives all because of one date. We allowed time and space for us to share, to be able to get a true, authentic, and organic time that we could spend with one another and see the potential.
Oh, that's good. And I think that's a good spot to just end off on. I think that we really wanted to just hone in on the muscle memory of knowing how to communicate, the muscle memory of protecting your peace, the muscle memory of understanding that every relationship deserves a little bit of you, but a whole lot of boundaries. I think we got a toast.
We got a toast. Let's do it.
So we're toasting to people understanding themselves, people understanding how to just love and protect yourself. If you are not happy and you don't feel loved by you, there's no way you're going to get into a relationship. Right. So understanding those access points, understanding how to set boundaries and protect your peace is going to be key to every relationship. So cheers to you as you learn to love on you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a journey of love, of understanding, of vulnerability, and we are just so appreciative that you have joined us for another episode of Finding Love.
And we want to invite you into our Finding Love community. And one of the best ways to do that is clicking that subscribe button right down there.
If you want to tune in with us more, kick it with us more, learn more about Finding Love, we definitely want you to follow us on all social media at I Am Finding Love. And I am Jenni L. Hendrix on all social media platforms. Jenni with an I, L, Hendrix with an IX.
Hey, there you go, baby. And mine is Stephen Hendrix, #1. And also, for anybody's listening to us on one of these amazing podcast platforms, please rate, review, comment. We really appreciate you.
Let's get it.